Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. This week we are doing the walkthrough for North Wilkesboro Speedway. This is probably one of my favorite races, even though one could say that I'm probably not the best at this track. It opened May 18th, 1947, with Pontiac being the inaugural winner, and it was actually a modified race at the time, as it predates NASCAR as a whole. So yes, for once, we have a track that these cars actually went to. There's been plenty of various stories from this track, from Darrell Waltrip and his famous lead shot to Junior Johnson walking across the racetrack mid-race after his car is wrecked out. So this track has a lot of history. It's very cool. If you don't know anything about the place, I really suggest that you look this up. There's lots of funny things about this track, including a moonshine still that apparently was out past the turn 4 wall and underneath a porta-john or a shed of some sort. I remember hearing this story on the Dale Jr. download, so go look up all the history that goes along with this track. It's actually really cool. As far as the lap record around this place, it's held by Kyle Larson. That was actually set this year at 18 seconds. 18.362 seconds, which is blistering fast, especially after we kind of get into the rest of this video and what I'm going to show you with these cars. Couple of things before we get into it. As we get through this, you're going to see some various different cars and stuff like that on the track. Towards the end, I do have Phil McCandless from the top split race that was Monday night, which I really encourage you to look at his line, how he's running. I think you can really learn some things from that, and I'll get into that a little bit later into this video. The other one is a yellow car. My buddy Cookit over on TikTok, super cool dude, races C87s from time to time. Go check him out if you get a chance. I told him I'd give him a shout out in the video here, as he was so gracious for me to let him videotape his car going around the track for me. So thank you to him. So go check him out, guys. But we're just going to break right out into it. So I tested only 2 steering offsets this time. I shouldn't say offsets, ratios. I only went 12-1 or 14-1. I left out 16-1 just from the aspect of this track is so very tight that I think a 16-1 you're going to be moving the wheel around way too much for the way that this track kind of sneaks up with the wall. A couple of things to take away is turns 1 and 2 are downhill, turns 3 and 4 are uphill. Turns 3 and 4 being the trickiest, especially coming out of 4. You get on it too soon, there is a downward drop with a little bit of a hump to it. The car will break loose, you will go spinning. 1 and 2 is much easier, but the other thing that a lot of people do is they want to hug that bottom. And doing so, the exit of 2 gets very narrow. The grass sneaks up very quickly, you clip that grass, you're going around. The best line that I have found, and why I say you want to watch Phil's line here at the end of the video, 1 and 2 seem to like a mid to high with a late apex out of 2 up the backstretch, and then coming into 3 and 4 you're going to start high, apex about normal, rotate it through the corner and start to feed that throttle in, but don't feed it in too soon, because like I said, that drop away hump will cause that car to unload. You're going to start to spin. So keep that in mind as we kind of go through this. The other big thing, the track surface is worn, so keeping the tires underneath of you and keeping them cool are the name of the game here. I don't care how fast you are on lap times. If you can keep your tires underneath you, you will be money ahead. As far as pit strategy, if you've got a race that's not really seeing cautions, try to keep the tires underneath you. You can make the whole race on one set. I spotted the Gominator through his race last night, and by the end of the race, I think we were about 85 on that right side. by the time we pitted with 10 to go. So you can run this race on one set of tires. And with the track being as short as it is, pit strategy is key. If you're at the front, you can get 4 tires put on. If you're at the back, you may have to double pit it, put a set of right sides on, go out, come back in, put a set of left sides on. You will not need fuel this week. There's 153 laps of fuel in the car right from the get-go, so take fuel strategy and throw it in the trash. You don't need it. So breaking into my testing, you're going to have to forgive me. I don't have my lap times. I had the replay saved, and it deleted itself. So thank you, iRacing, for that. But I can tell you, with these, we're in about the 20.1 to 20.3 range for the first about 5 laps, and then it starts to taper. And then I think at the max, I think we were at about 21.9, 22 seconds, and it kind of stabilizes out at that point. So if you're really looking to be there long haul, I wouldn't worry about setting a blistering pace right off the get-go. Let everybody else set that blistering pace, and then you can come back on them. Now with the 12-to-1, the car feels just heavy. Feels like there's an elephant sitting on the hood, I guess is the best way to think of it. It's really tight to get around the corners. My arms after a while kind of felt like they wanted to fall off. I also felt like you could over push the corner to a degree. Like you're gonna feel that front end start to skip across the pavement, and obviously you don't want to do that. After 20 laps, we were sitting at 95% on the tire wear. The tire temp on that right front was about 226. So I'm kind of attributing it to you're using that quicker ratio, and I think that quicker ratio, especially on turn in into 1 and turn in into 3, you can feel the push. So try to minimize it, brake early, check up a little early, especially if you like running a really tight feeling car. I personally don't. I like it really balanced to me. I can make a tight car work, but I'd rather have it a little bit looser, to be quite honest. Something to be mindful of as well as we're going through the rest of these. If you brake too hard coming into 3 because it is an uphill, it will cause that rear end to come around on you on entry. So keep that in mind. Even with this set, I would highly suggest adjusting your brake bias down as you go. Do what feels comfortable to you. I like to wait until it starts to feel like it's tightening up again before I bump it down. A lot of people like to get ahead of the curve, but I like it to go loose to tight, so I'll adjust that way for me. Next, steering ratio that we did here, I just went to 14-to-1, no offset on this. It did feel more free. I felt like I was fighting it less through the corner, which was nice. The one problem with this setup is it's a little harder to catch if the car starts to come around. So be ready for that. And especially here, if you catch it and that thing hooks, it's headed for the outside wall. I'm just going to let you know that right now. And with the damage model the way it is, blowing the motor is pretty easy. I think I blew the motor 4 times at Daytona this last week, just from stupid things. After a 20-lap run, we're looking at 97 on that right front, 219 on the tire temp. So by changing our steering ratio a little bit, we were able to keep some heat out of that right front, keep some more tread on that right front, and be a lot happier with it. The next setup that we decided to go with is the 14-to-1 with a -4 offset. Again, the offset part to me I think is personal preference, but I do notice slight things that are different. It does seem to kind of turn itself in without really having to mess with the wheel, which is kind of nice. And I think because you're not trying to fight to keep it straight, you're just kind of letting it roll in. And that's also going to save some tire as well, especially late in the run. Our right front was down to 96 after a 20-lap run, and I think that's just, I was kind of driving a little bit different on this one. Tire temp on this was 218 degrees on that right front, so we're still cooler. Even though we used a little bit more tire, we're cooler than we were. I think if it's me, I'm really digging that 14-to-1 with the -4 offset. I think that might be the ticket. You may want to play around with it. and see what feels most comfortable to you. Again, with all three of these, I was adjusting brake bias as the run goes on, so keep that in mind. And like I said, the track being worn, it's going to push, it's going to get slidey. If it does, and you catch it, and it stays green, just do your best to cool those tires off. You know, like Phil is running in the scene that you're seeing right now. Run that high line in 1 and 2. Let the tires cool down, and if you have to run high in 3 and 4 to get out of that main groove, just to help the tires cool down and get you back rolling, go ahead and do that. I think that you know, anything you can do to help yourself long run is going to be more beneficial than you know, trying to just get back into it and overheat the tires, because I have a feeling if you get into a good race, it's going to go green flag almost start to finish if it doesn't go all the way. So with that being said, everybody, those are my key tips to this week's race. If you have any comments, questions, put them down there in the comments section below. I appreciate everybody that's been checking this series out. It's been a lot of fun to make. I've gotten a lot of varying opinions. You know, and if you try it and say that it doesn't work, let me know. Tell me why it doesn't work. I'd love to hear why my ideas don't work here. But my whole idea is to give you guys a way to run this car, because to me it's a lot of fun, and I've heard way too many people say that they struggle with it. So on that note, everybody, we'll catch you at the races, and don't forget to go over to TikTok, check out my boy Cook It, and catch you guys on the next one.